Hello, it's Dr. Rhonda Johnson, and today is Wednesday, September 15th, 2021. First of all, I want to give my personal update on my battle with COVID. I'm so much better. I think the worst is behind me. Again, I want to thank everyone for their prayers and their support. What's it like to have COVID? A couple people have asked me that. Well, again, I want to say this virus affects everybody different. That's what makes it so difficult. I can only speak for myself, but I felt like I had a pile of bricks that just sat on top of my forehead and wouldn't move, and another pile of bricks that just sat on my chest and wouldn't move. I had high fever for 4 days, and it just wouldn't break. At times, I felt like my lungs were literally on fire. And then there's the coughing spells that make your chest and abdomen feel sore. And at times, the feeling that you can't breathe is real, and it's quite scary. And then for me, the brain fog feels like you need more coffee. Like you should drink coffee all day. Or for those that drink alcohol, it's like a hangover that you can't get rid of. I still don't have any taste or smell, and that's interesting because I do a lot of cleaning and I can't smell any of it. The Clorox, the Lysol, if I drink lemon or eat an orange, can't smell it or taste it. But folks, I am so glad to be alive and to share my story. For me, this was so much worse than the common cold or the flu. It wasn't fun, my breakaway COVID case. I cannot imagine what this would have been like if I was not vaccinated. So please, folks, if you haven't been vaccinated, get vaccinated. Now I'm going to do some updates because that is, after all, what I do, right? So Betadine, folks are taking Betadine to treat COVID. Do not use Betadine. Betadine is a topical solution and a first aid solution. It's to be used on the skin. It's not a cure for COVID. And it won't treat COVID either. So don't drink, don't gargle, and don't clean with Betadine, period, folks. It could cause iodine poisoning, kidney disruption, and death. I want to talk also, moving on, about the boosters or the third doses of vaccine for people who are fully immunized. The Delta variant and the successors to the Delta variant are driving this. Even though I had one of those breakthrough cases, the number of breakthrough cases are so much lower than the number of infections in the unvaccinated. And remember, please, that unvaccinated persons are 11 times more likely to die from COVID. I can testify that the vaccines are holding up against severe disease, hospitalizations, and death. I never had to go to the emergency room, and everything that I had, I was able to manage at home, even living alone. Now, the vaccine immunity does seem to be waning over time for people who are 65 years up and have weakened immune systems. People seem to be most vulnerable. So, folks, if you're in that immunocompromised group, meaning you're like a cancer survivor, you've had an organ transplant, you have an autoimmune disease, or if you're on chronic medication that suppresses your immunity, you should go ahead on and get your third dose now. You're going to take the same vaccine that you previously had. If your first 2 doses were with Pfizer or Moderna, then that you've been approved to get that third dose. There's no approval yet for a second dose rather, of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Now, if you're not in that immunocompromised group, you're supposed to wait for further information. This is currently being reviewed by the FDA and the CDC, and it's a little bit controversial. Now, lastly, I know I'm talking a lot today. There's an article in the Washington Post that again highlights the racial disparities in terms of COVID's toll on black and brown people. The article says that overall 1 in 500 Americans have died of COVID since the pandemic started, but it's much worse for black and brown people. And for black and brown people, there is a striking preponderance of deaths occurring in younger folks. I know we're in the midst of an epidemic in the pediatric population. And remember, folks, the majority of pediatric COVID deaths are in black and Hispanic children and teens. So as this pandemic rages on, our kids are losing their parents. Death at a young age means there's more years of grief. There's more holidays when you don't have your loved one. Sad holidays, sad family gatherings, a hole that never closes in your heart. And losing parents and grandparents destabilizes and can destroy entire families. When I look at the amount of misinformation that's out there with these COVID vaccines, it's just outright disgraceful. I hope people will stop listening to these voices of misinformation and take time to find out the truth yourself. Now, I don't believe in forcing people to get vaccinated. I don't, as much as I believe in vaccines. I've given out vaccines as a pediatrician for many years, and people don't always take the vaccines. I want people to believe in these COVID vaccines because they're safe and they save lives. Now, obviously, I'm not in charge of any laws or policy, but I'm sad to see this ongoing divide between vaccinated people and unvaccinated people. And I will be sad to see people lose their jobs because of vaccine refusal. So in parting, I wanted to share, I'm on my way back. You can expect to see messages from me as I, able to do so. Again, thank you all for all your words of comfort, prayers, texts, calls. It has meant the world to me. Take care, folks. Stay safe. And as always, my views are my own, and have a blessed day.